Hi, this is Bill Cecil, and welcome to episode number 23 of my podcast series, Best Year Ever or Bust. The podcast series designed to help make every year as a teacher your best year ever by helping you help your students make it their best year ever as well, despite any and all challenges you face throughout the school year. Best year ever or bust, baby! That's the mindset I hope you'll adopt and use throughout this and every school year. First off, before I do anything else, I want to take care of what I think is most important, and that is I want to truly thank each of you for being the hero you've been called to be, to go into your classroom every day and strive to make a difference. So thank you very much for that. And also I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to take a listen to these episodes. If you're still listening, seriously, it tells me you're into this, so I can't thank you enough for that. And if it's your first time, I hope you'll catch fire on something that I say today, or it'll catch your interest and you'll go back and start listening to all of these podcasts, series or episodes, and you'll get into it as well. But I want to thank you for taking time to listen today for sure. And also, I want to give a special shout out to all of you teachers and educators out there that are taking time to share this podcast series with other heroes like yourself, striving to make a positive difference in your classrooms, but also in your schools as well. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly believe that the more we look out for each other and try to uplift, motivate, and empower each other to take on these challenges, we are going to create a healthy atmosphere or a place to help raise healthy children. So I really believe it takes a healthy village to raise healthy children. And I think you're doing that by sharing this podcast series and other examples or strategies and ideas that you've heard about or read about, resources that you can share that will help all of you to be able to take on these many challenges that you face in the classroom each and every year. So thank you for doing that. Okay, so with that in mind, this goes right with our theme for today, or our lesson for today. In this episode, what I want to do is I want to do a follow-up on the promise that I made to you at the end of episode number 21 to share with you the top 3 things that had the biggest impact on helping me face any and all challenges I faced throughout my teaching career that never knocked the enthusiasm out of me or diminished my love or passion for teaching. And that's what I want to share with you today, the top 3 things. Actually, I'm going to start with the first one, and then it might take one episode each because I don't want to throw too much at you at first. By the way, this is like a little mini-series in this podcast series, starting with episode number 21, where I talked about the fact that I gave you 3 doable plans to use in the first 19 episodes, I think it was, that you could use for yourself, with your students, and also with your students' parents to help minimize and eliminate problems that teachers face in the classroom that get in the way of giving them more time to teach and, more importantly, their students more time to learn. And so that was what the first 19 episodes were about, to give you those 3 doable plans. And starting on episode number 20, 21, and 22, and moving for a few more episodes, what I want to do is I'm going to talk about the challenges that you can't really minimize or eliminate that are wasting time. These are challenges that you don't want to eliminate. They're challenges that you want to embrace and take on. Because as I talk about in the first 2 episodes in this mini-series, episode number 21 and 22, that you cannot have your best year ever without some kind of challenges or a challenge that you have to overtake and work to get stronger at and try to overcome. And so you want that challenge in your classroom or in your schools that you're working on to make you guys stronger and better. It's like the Super Bowl I talked about a couple of weeks ago when, Mahomes said at the end of the game, the quarterback of the winning team, the Chiefs, he said, I want to give, I'm very thankful for the challenges that we had this year at the beginning of the season, and it made us stronger. It got us ready for this moment to win this big game. And so he understood the concept of you have to be able to embrace some challenges and see them as opportunities to grow. And so that's what this sort of mini-series is about as well, is to help you to reframe some of the challenges you face as not trying to eliminate or minimize them just to get rid of them because they're frustrating and they cause a lot of stress. It's important to get rid of those, but to spend more time and embrace certain challenges that will actually make you dig down and challenge you to grow and get stronger in different areas, and the people you work with to do the same. And so that's what I want to do tonight, is I want to jump in and start talking about the top 3 things that I wished I had known as a teacher when I first started my career to take on the challenges that I would face that I didn't know about at that time when I first started, but that as I was going through my career, I was starting to pick up certain things that worked. And so I want to share with you that the top 3 things that I discovered or that I stumbled upon, or, just luck happened to be that something came along at the same time I was dealing with one of these struggles that helped me to try something different or try something new that really made a difference in my classroom. and never allowed me to have the enthusiasm knocked out of me. And again, I'm using that word knocked because it's sort of like a knockout, right? It's like the episode number 22, I used a lot of boxing analogies to talk about how, I want you, it's not that I want you to think of teaching as going in and beating on your students. That's absolutely not what I want you to do. That's not going to do any good, okay? But what I'm talking about is to have the mindset to go in there and knock these challenges out that you want to get rid of, but also to be able to spar with the challenges that are going to help you eventually knock the challenges out that you had to overcome to make you stronger or better, or your team stronger or better. And if you remember in episode number 21, I even mentioned the top 3 things that made a big impact on my teaching. And if I gave you a hint of what it was in episode number 21, when I talked about that teacher that came to me my first year of my teaching after I had said hello to some of her kids in the hallway. She basically got upset because her kids were walking down the hallway really nicely, little first graders, like little ducks following the mama duck down to their classroom. And they were single file. And I was waiting for them to go by, and one of the kids waved, I waved. And then next thing you know, of course, the second kid waves, and the third. And pretty soon they're giggling and waving, and the teacher in the front knew there was a disruption. She stops the line and looks at me and then barks at her kids to, eyes front, no talking, and then they disappeared in their classroom. And after school, she came in and gave me quite the tongue lashing. And this was an older teacher I had not even spoken to all that first year of my teaching. And she came in and she let me have it, and she said, quit showboating. You know what you're doing out there? You're showboating. I love teaching. And then she kind of, what I said was, she pointed the finger at me and kind of gave me the curse, right? She was trying to put a curse on me, it felt like. And she said, just you wait. We'll knock that enthusiasm out of you in a few years. And she turned and walked away. That was a sucker punch. I didn't see it coming. Boom, like boxing analogy. She put me down on the canvas. I wasn't ready for it. And I was down on the canvas, and I had to make a decision right then and there. Is this what teaching's going to be like? Am I going to allow this to happen? And I didn't. I decided right then in that moment, I used that challenge as an opportunity to make a vow to myself. In that moment, I remember saying to myself, I will never let anyone or anything knock the enthusiasm out of me. And if I ever do, that will be the day that I walk away from teaching, the day I retire, because it wouldn't be fair to my students, and it wouldn't be fair to the other people that work with me to have me come in with that kind of an attitude. And so I made that vow, and it helped me get through some of the most challenging challenges I had throughout my career. In fact, that was a story I shared in episode 21 that led up to this. Was I was talking about how during my most challenging year, near the end of my career, I felt like I was on the canvas again for the second time, probably in my entire career. There's other times I've been on the ropes with challenges, but this time I was on the canvas just trying to make it to spring break because I felt like I was out of gas and I was just getting beaten up. And that's when I caught myself and remembered the vow I made to never let anything or anyone knock the enthusiasm out of me, because I was not going to let that teacher put that curse on me and think she won and that she was right. I was determined to prove her wrong. And so here I was late in my career, and I had to still make that vow again. And I'd made it other times in my career, but this was a time that it really saved me from a knockout. And I got up and finished my career for another few years and ended on a high note, just like my whole career was a high note. And that year ended up being one of my best years ever. So it turned out to be even better than I expected, because she motivated me. Something that happened way back in my career motivated me to get up and work even harder. And so to get myself out of that difficult situation. And that's when I said in that story that I was called to go down to Ball State University that Friday instead of starting my spring break like everyone else. I had a friend down there that was a professor, and she had an emergency she had to attend. And so she asked me if I could fill in for her class on Friday and teach 3 different classes to education students. And I said, absolutely, I'll do that for you. And that's what I thought about on my drive down was, what I had made that vow a day earlier, a couple of days earlier, that this is what I was trying to do. And I went back through my career and thought about what were the things that really helped me get through the challenges to live up to that vow that I would make. And this is where I came up with my list of the top 3 things that made a difference. What I want to do is I want to provide you with these top 3 things. But again, I only want to do 1 per episode, because I don't want to throw all 3 at you at once, and it kind of diminishes them or waters them down to the point where, it's not helping you out. And so today, I'm going to start with the first thing that I learned, that these are the things I wished I knew right at the beginning of my career, but I learned them throughout my career that became the top strategies I used whenever I walked into a tough challenge or a tough situation. Either I was trying to diminish or get rid of, or I was trying to embrace to help make our team stronger. These are the top three. And so the first one is, don't ever let the Farleys knock the enthusiasm out of your teaching. Okay? Never let the Farleys knock the enthusiasm out of your teaching. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, what the heck is a Farley? All right, I'm going to tell you what a Farley is, right? My dad was like the father in that movie, Christmas Story, that comes out at Christmas. They show it every Christmas Eve or Christmas Day for 24 hours on a loop. And he's a father that you can tell he's a hardworking guy. He loves his family. At times he can be a little impatient, right? Especially when things kind of get him upset, especially when the furnace in the basement isn't working. And, and he'd come upstairs and he'd start using gibberish, and you could tell he was probably swearing by the kid's reaction. My dad was exactly like this. A great dad, a loving husband. But when things upset him or people upset him, sometimes he had a mouth like a sailor, and he would not use gibberish. He would just start dropping the language out. And, and of course, raising 5 little kids. I remember once we were going to the airport, and he let loose on a barrage of words and at somebody that he felt cut him off. And we're on the back seat and we're laughing, and we started mimicking what he was saying, making each other laugh even harder. And my mom decided she'd have none of that. She's like, oh, no, we're not going to have that. So she told my dad, I guess in private, I don't want you using that kind of language in front of the kids anymore. They're picking up on it. They think it's funny. It's not appropriate. You got to figure something out. So he came up with this word, Farley. And anytime anyone or anything upset him, he'd call it a Farley. If the dishwasher wasn't working well, or the compactor, the garbage compactor, which was big back then, he would call them Farleys. Oh, you Farley, what's wrong with you, Farley? Or somebody'd cut him off on the road. He'd go, you Farley, I can't believe you just did that. So he'd use that word. In fact, he even had a word that he used when he was super upset. He'd say Farley Farnsworth. When somebody really took it to a whole new level, he'd be like, you Farley Farnsworth, he'd say, but it was better than what he used to say. So we started laughing at the word Farley. So we started calling things Farley. And my mom didn't have a problem with that. My dad didn't have a problem with that. It was just a fun way of, whenever we were upset, to call something a Farley. So here's the serious part of this. When that teacher came into my room, I consider her to be a Farley. In fact, I've told this story before and have called her, I will never give her real name, but I would say Mrs. Farley. This teacher's name was Mrs. Farley because it was my way of saying that's what my dad would say. Because when you would go to my dad with a problem and you said, this is upsetting me, this isn't working, or somebody told me this, or somebody said this, my dad would look at you and he'd just simply say, don't let the Farleys get you down. Use what they say, or whatever that thing is that's holding you back, whatever it is, a person or a thing, use it to light a fire in you, not to defeat you, to light a fire in you, to get determined that no matter what happens from this point on, you're going to find a way to make it happen. You're going to find a way to get it done. Use that as a blessing, so to speak, like the quarterback the other night in the Super Bowl said when he said, we needed to face some challenges to get better. That's what I want you to do, right? I want you to use these people or these things. And that's exactly what I did in my teaching career. When I was lying there on the canvas after she pointed that finger at me and said, just you wait a few years, we'll knock that out of you. She used the word we'll, meaning we. Who's we? And I started to realize throughout my career, there are some Farleys in our profession. There's a ton more good teachers. I swear up and down that to be true. There are a ton more great teachers and educators and staff members that work in our buildings in educational, settings and schools that are tremendous people, positive people, fun people to be around, motivating, uplifting, you name it. But there are some Farleys within the ranks. I'd be lying to you if I didn't acknowledge the fact that at least in my building, in my district, there were Farleys. But I've heard from many, many other people, and what I've read on social media, which always upsets me, there seems to be Farleys everywhere. Okay? They're outnumbered, but they're there, and they can be dangerous. And so like my dad said, don't let the Farleys get you down. Because for whatever reason, he'd say, they're upset about something going on in their life, and so they're trying to hold you down either on purpose, or maybe they like you and they don't want you to feel like you can't do something they couldn't do. And so they're going to say something that's going to hold you down. I'll give you 2 quick examples. When I was trying to write my book, Best Year Ever, for the first time, I made the mistake of telling a couple friends that I worked with that I was working on a book. And one of them said to me flat out, "Oh, Bill, I tried doing that. I couldn't do it. And if I can't do it, no offense, but I don't think you can either. So don't waste your time on it." It wasted a lot of my time and was frustrating. She was trying to help me, I think. But it made me angry. And I said, "Oh, man, now thank you. You just lit a fire in me that no matter what, I will sacrifice any and everything to get this book done." And there were times when I'd go back to that statement when I was up against the wall going, "I don't know if I can solve this problem. I don't know if I can get past this block, this challenge." But as soon as I think of her saying that to me, boom, I was all in again, 100% all in. I'm like rolling up the sleeves. Let's go. Let's get it done. The other example is I have parents do that quite a bit in conferences. They don't mean to do that to their kids, but they'll say things like, "Oh, I was never a good speller, so I know Jimmy won't be able to spell." Or, "Oh, I couldn't do math. Jimmy, I don't blame Jimmy. He can't do math either. He got it from me, so blame me." And they'd say it right in front of their kids sometimes because I'd have their kids sit at the conferences with us. And I'm like, "Oh, please don't say that." They can do whatever they want if they work hard, or most anything they want to do if they work hard, okay? It's a lot of these things aren't just you're born with the skill or not. You can develop the skills with time and practice and effort, time. And so, again, I believe there's some Farleys in our profession. And so today I want to talk about 4 specific types of Farleys that I want you to be aware of. And all joking aside, I seriously want you to be able to arm yourself and to be able to think of them as challengers in the boxing analogy, right? These are 4 challengers that can knock you out. And these challengers are pretty powerful because they have really good punching ability. They can knock you out or hit you with a lot of body punches you don't even realize you're getting, and then knock you out if you're not careful. So I want you to be aware of who they are and the danger that they risk for you if you don't put yourself in a position to defend yourself or fight back or avoid having to deal with them at all. So let's start with the first type of Farley. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go through these with you briefly, and then at the end I'll give you some solutions how you can deal with them, okay? So the first one is, I call these Farleys the walking dead or the zombies. And these are the staff members that seem to just be going through the motions each day at work. They're doing the least amount of work they have to do to get by pretty much, right? Or worse, they come in and it's like a Monday and they're already talking about Friday, like, "Oh, I can't wait till Friday. I'm just so tired of this, it's just I'm trying to, yeah." Or, "I can't wait till the next vacation. That was a nice vacation we just had, but I can't wait till the next one. We only got 2.5 months until Christmas break or winter break, so I'm looking forward to that." Or they're trying to, like first day of school, they're already counting down to the summer of the next summer, right? Only 180 more days to go until summer. Oh, I can't wait. Seriously, they're walking around with no enthusiasm. And what they're doing is they're sapping the energy out of you. You're trying to get fired up to go in your classroom and make a difference every day, and they're sapping the energy out of you. These are dangerous people, right? You got to be careful around these people because they don't seem to take any excitement, make anything they're excited about, or no pride in what they're doing. They're just going through the motions. They're just trying to get to the end of the day, end of the week, end of the year, whatever. And I think that the dangerous thing is that they can start to zap the energy out of you without you even realizing it. You hang around with people with low energy, you're going to pretty soon adopt low energy. You hang around with people with high energy, you tend to start adopting and pick up high energy levels, right? You start acting more energetic yourself. So I'm just saying, be careful. If you're dealing with a lot of people that walk around going, "I'm bored, life is boring." It's like I'd say in my classroom the first day of school. It's that type of student I worry about more than any other student. It's the one that comes in and says, "I'm bored. This is boring. How long until we're done?" It's hard to get them excited, and more dangerously, they can start to zap your energy as well. So that's the first one, all right? The second Farley challenger you'll face throughout your career, and these are the dangerous ones. These are called the energy vampires. These are the ones that like to come in and suck the energy out of you, right? They like to come in or blow their secondhand smoke on you. You're in line for the copy machine first thing in the morning. They're like, "Oh boy, I can't believe yesterday I had this parent," or "Yesterday at that staff meeting, can you believe the ideas we talked about, how bad they were, and now we got to do that on top of everything else. We don't have time for all that. We're too busy trying to already do what we have to do. I don't have time to help kids do this or that," right? And they suck in and they're like, "Can you believe that? I just hate this. I hate this." And then they start to get done with their copies. They turn around and they say, "Well, have a good day," after they've blown all this secondhand smoke on you, and then they walk out, right? Water wears rocks. You hang around with people like that, before you know it, they're going to suck the energy out of you. They're going to blow so much secondhand smoke on you, you're going to get sick from it, right? That's why they eliminated in Michigan smoking in bars and restaurants, because there's innocent people there just trying to enjoy themselves, and they were getting, the risk of higher chance of getting cancers from secondhand smoke being blown on them from other patrons. And so they said, no, you got to do that outside or someplace else, but you can't do that to innocent people that are here trying to enjoy the meal or their time out as well. Same thing at school. Be careful of these people. And this is the old saying, misery loves company, right? Because once somebody starts being negative, don't you notice other people start doing it too? Oh, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, I was thinking the same thing at the staff meeting. I didn't say anything. I didn't have the courage to say anything during the meeting, but I'll say it right here in this hallway with 3 other teachers because or in the lunchroom when nobody administrators around. Yeah, let's bash it up a little bit. None of us had the courage to say, hey, maybe we could consider this idea. Or here's some concerns we have about that idea. Not to say that in public, but let's go behind the people's back and beat it up and beat it down. And then it almost seems like if you're not with them, then you're against them. So now you're thinking, I got to be with them because, teaching's an isolated job to begin with. You got your kids, which is important, but you don't have many adults to talk to throughout the day because you're locked in your room for long periods of time. And so you need these people to connect with. But if these people are energy vampires and you got to become one of them to be their friends, you might want to reconsider, I'd rather be alone than that. I have some solutions to help you beat that. I'll share at the end. But be careful of the energy vampires. That teacher that came in my room and put that curse on me, she was an energy vampire. She's saying to this young teacher full of energy and full of passion, I'm going to knock, just you wait, notice she said, we'll knock that enthusiasm out of you. All she needed was a cigarette, sucking it in and then blowing it out on me as I'm laying on the canvas, right? We'll knock it out of you and then you'll be one of us, And I think the reason they do that is because if they can get you negative and get you stop doing your best effort, then it gives them permission not to do their best effort. Or if they say that's a bad idea, I'm not gonna do that, and then get you to have the same attitude, and enough people to do that, then nothing gets done in your building other than more reasons to complain and then excuse to say why we couldn't be our best. I get upset about this one because this is one where it's one thing if you want to come in and not have a great attitude, but if you're going to come in and get other people infected with that, you got to be careful of these two groups. One is silent, right? The zombies, the walking dead, but so are the energy vampires. And so you got to be careful of those. And then there's the Farley Challenger number 3 is the pity partiers or the naysayers, right? The pity partiers are the ones that kind of want to feel sorry for themselves, like, oh, man, we have it so hard. I got the hardest group in the school again every year. Why do I always get the hardest kids? It seems like I always get the hardest kids, the kids with the most issues. Why do I get them? Is it that you really get them, or is it because you don't do anything with them to change them at the beginning of the year? Go back and listen to the first 19 episodes. I wish I could say to those people, right? But seriously, they're the pity partiers. They're like, oh, it's not my fault I can't give my best effort because they just made our evaluations that much harder. They're making me do more test prep, or they're doing this to me. They're making me do this, and it's my excuse not to be my best. So now I have an out, so I don't have to give my best. So now I can kind of go through the motions, and I have something to blame, but I'm going to feel sorry for myself on top of it, and I want you to feel sorry for me, and maybe we can feel sorry for each other, and we can make our profession feel sorry for itself. You may think I'm being extreme, but that's what it sounds like sometimes on certain social media posts I see. There's like people going back and forth, and then once one teacher does it, other teachers will jump in on the post and go, I know what you mean. I got that going on at my school. Or, I know somebody just told me they got that going on at theirs. It doesn't make us look like those Marines on the billboard, right, that say, I'm a teacher and I make a difference every day, like I talked about. I think it was in episode number 8, right? We have to model the way. And so pity parties aren't going to get it done, and neither are the naysayers, the people that are like saying, even if they try it, that's not going to work. Nope, I just know it's not going to work. Nope. In fact, I knew 2 teachers once. They'd go to meetings. This was like district meetings or out of the building meetings. I'd see them in other places, and they'd always say to every idea, nope, that's not going to work. It's not our fault. It's education's broken right now, people. And until we realize that, we're the ones that have to suffer. We have to go in and try to make it work, but it's set up against us. And I'd like, what do you guys want? I finally asked them. They said, we want it to fail, Bill, so we can finally show them that we were telling them for years it's not working, it's failing. And I said, but wait a minute. Okay, once you tell them that it fails, what are you going to do next? What's going to be your next move? The next day, what's going to be your plan of action? They were silent. They said, we don't have a plan of action. What do you mean? I said, well, you got to have a plan of action. Now they failed. They admitted it. So you got your day in the sun. You're excited about that. But what's going to be the next thing that happens? What are you going to do? They didn't say anything like, well, we're going to roll up our sleeves and work with them to make it a difference. They're like, we just wanted to prove them wrong. That's it. They're the naysayers. They're not looking to win. They're just looking to tear it down. I hate it when I played on teams with guys that would be whispering, after a coach's pep-up speech, and they're like, yeah, right, he doesn't have to go out there and defend these guys. They're twice our size, or he doesn't have to go out there. He doesn't remember how we played against them last year when they beat us up. He's not even talking about that. He's ignoring that. He's not. And it's like, what are you doing? He's trying to get us fired up. You're not helping us by coming out there and saying we're not going to do well. I played in a soccer game once where the other team was warming up, and my guys looked over there, and this was not a college team. This was a rec team. But they were out there talking about how good this team was and how we weren't going to beat this team, even before the ball kicked off to start the game. Sure enough, in the first 5 minutes, they scored 3 goals on us. I wonder why. But then you know what happened was we settled down because we're like, okay, we're relaxing a little bit. Now we're just going to play our game. They started to play their game, and they already had a lead. And all of a sudden, we scored a couple goals. We were in the game before you know it. We were a 3-2 game, and it was a great close game. And we ended up losing by that one goal. But what had happened if we'd come out the first 5 minutes with a different mindset instead of a naysayer's attitude, like, oh, we don't have a chance. And, oh, well, maybe we do. But we already put a lot of scores up against us. It's going to be hard to come back and be victorious. We got to be careful of the naysayers and pity partiers too. They might want to feel sorry. And again, pity parties. You hear that saying all the time, parties. People love, again, strength in numbers, right? If I pity and you're pity and we're all sad and we're all blaming something else and we don't have to blame ourselves for giving our best, that's not good. And finally, the fourth one, and this is the one that's the biggest contender of the 4. This is the most fiercest Farley in the group. And that is yourself. You got to be careful. Self-doubt is such a dangerous thing. That's why we're losing 40% of our new teachers within the first 5 years. It's because they doubt themselves. Or the worst, they're comparing themselves with master teachers. It's like playing an instrument, I tell them when I work with new teachers. When I worked with 5th graders, I take them down to the band room. It sounded like they were stepping on ducks or geese when they're trying to play their instruments in band the first few weeks. And the teacher's in there patient with them. Good job, guys. Let's keep going. We can do this. She wasn't a naysayer. She was encouraging them. Do this and you can get a better note. And she was amazing. Before you know it, at Christmas time, they were playing basic songs. Mary had a little lamb, or jingle bells, on their instruments, and it sounded like the songs with a few squawks, but it was getting better. The 6th graders that were in their shoes a year before sounded way better, and it was only 1 year apart. And then at our concert, we'd have the high school kids come in that were in their shoes a few years back, and they sound amazing. They're playing deep, amazing pieces of music, and you're just so inspired and uplifted listening to them. And that's what I tell teachers, new teachers, is quit going in and comparing yourself with these other teachers that are master teachers. Learn from them, watch them, get as much information as you can, but give yourself permission to learn to play your instrument. Stick around long enough, right? Don't self-doubt and run out of the profession and blame it on a zillion other things. It's my kids. It might be your kids because you don't know how to discipline them yet, or you don't know how to set up an environment that I taught you about with the 4 strategies to set the table for success. Give yourself time to master these things. Do the 30-day challenge. Have you done it yet? But don't say it can't be done, and don't give up on yourself and self-doubt. I'm not good enough, so I'm running for the exits. 44% is the current number. Within the first 5 years, we lose 44% of our new teachers. And that's brutal. And the other brutal one I shared in episode 22, I think it was that we're losing 55% of teachers that are making plans already to leave early. Not new teachers. All teachers are making plans. 55%. An NEA report has reported in a 2021 report. That means that we have that many teachers on the ropes doubting themselves right now because they think now they got to leave early. There's nothing more they can do. They're mistaken. There's lots we can do. Go back and listen to these podcasts. Go back and think about, please get my playbook if you want. BestYouEver.net. Look at my playbook that has all these plays and strategies in there. But there's many other resources and people out there that have ideas. But don't give up. Don't let self-doubt chase you out of this profession. And then when you walk out, blame it on a million other things than yourself. Right? Oh, they're not paying me enough. It's funny. I never thought about not getting paid enough until the days I was really struggling. And then I'd think, man, how much are they paying me? Right? Seriously. It's when you know what you're going to kind of make as a teacher when you go into it. But what you don't know is how you're going to deal with all these challenges. And then when you feel like you can't do it and you start doubting yourself, then you're like, it's not worth the pay. It's not worth the pay. They're not paying me enough to do this. Or it's the kids today, or it's parents today, or it's this today, or it's testing, or you can make a zillion excuses, but sometimes it's us. We got to quit cutting ourselves down, right? We got to be stronger than that. And so here are some quick solutions. Find positive people in your building, in your life that you can go to and talk to each other. Don't close your doors like many teachers do when they're struggling. They isolate themselves even worse because they don't want anybody to see it. They want to hide it. I know, because when I was struggling that year, that was my hardest year, I wasn't talking as much to other people. So don't close your door. That's the worst thing you can do. Don't isolate yourself. Go out and talk to people you trust in private and say, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. Can you help me out? What do you do when you're down? Or what do you see me doing wrong? What am I doing different? What can I do differently? I got to renew my vow. I got to say, come in with a better attitude tomorrow. Come in and think about all my successes I've had in the past. Focus on the successes I'm having every day instead of the problems I'm having. Go home with more positives than negatives. Even if it was a tough day, think about a few things you did well that you're going to build on the next day. So don't give in to it. Fight it. Fight it. That's the boxer part of this, right? So don't give in to it. The other one is avoid the naysayers. Avoid the vampires if you know they're vampires. I would get up early to get into the building a half hour, 45 minutes before anybody else got there to use the copy machine in the morning because I got tired of people coming in first thing in the morning and they're frustrated because they have to wait in line to make copies and they got other things to do. They should have made them the day before like I should have done, right? But then they're making copies and now they got to wait in line. So they sit there and they blow smoke on you because they're already upset. And now they're blowing their smoke on you before you even have seen the kids to start the day. You're already in a negative mindset. Avoid them. Avoid the lunchroom if it's negative. Sometimes lunchrooms can be negative at times. Not always, but at times. Those are the days I'd go back and eat in my room alone. Or I'd go, hey, you want to go sit outside today? A couple of my buddies. You want to go outside today? You guys want to go, go grab some lunch somewhere real quick? Or just something to get away and to, again, find positive people. And same with the zombies. Say something positive to them. Try to break them of the habit. If you can't, then just get away from them. You can't save them. It's like a lifeguard. If a lifeguard is trained that if you're trying to save somebody from drowning and they're not going to take your help and they're going to start to drown you, you got to cut loose and swim away. It's hard to do, but you got to do it because you got to live for another day to save many more people, right? So if they're going to take you under with them, at some point you got to cut loose and save yourself so you can save others down the road. I would spend every day walking around saying hi to people, right? Hey, good morning. How you doing today? I make it a habit. Even the people that were staff, the custodians, the secretaries. How you doing today? Having a good day? Say something positive. Start that in your building because it catches on, right? Strength in numbers. Instead of being negative, start with positives. How you doing today, man? It's going to be a good day. Hey, that was a great meeting yesterday. I thought we had a couple good ideas. Hey, here's one of them I really liked. What about you? What do you think? And if they start going negative, say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to focus on the one that I like that one, so I'm going to really go back in and work on that today. But I hope you have a great day. And if they don't like it, stay away from him. But if they get in the habit of, Bill doesn't really talk negative. He's not somebody that you can talk negative to because he's not. Now, there are times when I talk negative. Believe me, I wasn't above all this. I had my moments where I'd find myself doing the wrong thing that was only hurting me as well as hurting others. The best advice I can give you, though, is that it's like that quote that says, when you help others, you lift yourself up, right? You rise by lifting others or helping others, right? And so do that. Go in with that approach, but find something that's going to help you avoid these things. And lastly, and then I'll wrap this up, is make the vow I made, that you're not going to let anyone or anything, any one of these naysayers, these Farleys, knock you out of the game. They're not going to knock the enthusiasm out of you, right? You still control that. So make that vow and live to make it right. If you make the vow, keep the promise. Don't just say it, mean it. And I guarantee you that will be a great first step. And then do some of these other strategies. And I'm sure there's many more out there, and you'll probably hear me talk about them before all of this is over. I don't want you to be a Farley, okay? Seriously, I was a Farley at times, and I'm sure we're all Farleys at times. But do not let the Farleys knock you out of this profession, especially yourself. Don't let yourself self-doubt yourself out of this. We need you. You're a hero. Just the fact that you're doing this says something about you. Be strong. Be that teacher on the bulletin or on the billboards all across the country. I say we need to have that, standing proud like the Marines with that look on their face. I'm a teacher and I make a difference every day, because you do make a difference every day. So remember, best year ever. You have the power to make it happen.